Okay, what's up, people? Welcome back to another stream. Hope everyone is doing well. As always, guys, if you are enjoying the content, find it useful, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel. It does really help out. Share it with your friends, and of course, hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. But of course, we've got an interesting day today. We've got a lot of news actually coming out later, so it's a day to be a little bit more cautious and maybe looking for short-term opportunities, or maybe even just staying on the market and waiting for things to blow over. But of course, we'll go into detail about that coming later today. Of course, if you do have any requests, any pairs you're looking at, feel free to let us know. Stick it in the chat. Happy to look for it and discuss with you guys. Of course, I'll share what I'm looking at and what I'm trading. And if you guys have any questions or any particular time frames you want me to look at, let me know as well. But I don't have any positions open at the moment. I did have a couple of trades from last week. I was short on Aussie dollar. That one played out pretty well. Had a nice push off the high. We're coming back into the same area, so I'm keeping a close eye on Aussie dollar because there could be some more shorts coming up. But I did catch some shorts from the high over here. We had a lot of resistance in this area and a lot of signs that says, okay, the weekly chart is finding it very difficult for us to break through the high. Essentially, you can see the weekly chart basically told the story. We have essentially 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I was trading the fourth wick, but 4 wicks into that area. And of course, with today's candle or this week's candle, we're pushing back into the same territory. So I'm going to be interested in the Aussie dollar for, again, some more shorts, but I want to see what happens with the USD because at the moment, the predominant factor, the predominant environment for USD is bullish. USD is currently in a bullish regime right now. Plenty of factors feeding into that. Of course, with a day like this, we've got a bunch of news coming out. We've got PPI in the afternoon, and we've got Fed interest rate shortly after that as well. So that could potentially change somewhat. Maybe not the full regime, but we could see some volatility. We could see some repricing today and maybe a bit tomorrow as well. So I'm being careful with that. But essentially, this is the area which I'm interested in. You can see for the past 4 or 5 weekly candles, failure each time to close above that. And of course, current week's candles testing that same area. So I'm going to be interested in some shorts in this location. Whether I get the triggers or not, that'll be down to price action and depending on what we see with the news. But at the moment, we are coming to an interesting place where I do like the idea of some shorts. Looking at the daily chart as well. I mean, daily chart, yeah, just a lot of resistance in this area. Momentum's picked up a little bit. Currently failing at the prior day's high. Potentially could roll over there, but it's just a very volatile day today, so I have to be a bit careful. Maybe some short-term sells make sense, but maybe holding throughout the day could be a little bit tricky. But anyway, so yeah, I was short on Aussie dollar and I was also short on dollar CHF. That one did not play out. We had a nice initial reaction, but just didn't see much follow through. And by the end of the week, we actually closed pretty bullish. If I go to the weekly candle here, it was a similar situation in terms of we had a lot of rejection, a lot of wicks forming. You can see multiple wicks here for my crosshair. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weekly candles. And then, of course, 7, we had a massive breakout. So that changed everything, really. We are currently trading to some resistance, so there could be a bit of a reaction here. We might see a bit of a pullback. I'm not necessarily favoring this anymore. That's a little bit too overly confident, but we are in an area which we could perhaps see a bit of a pullback, and looks like we're currently seeing some now. In terms of my focus this week, the pair I like the most is pound USD. I like pound USD to the downside. That's really where my focus is at the moment. And we've started off bullish, so it's interesting. Coming to the week, it was kind of 50-50. I wasn't too sure if price was just going to absolutely drop because you can see the way we closed for last week's price action. Massive wick to the upside, even took out the previous week's high, and then we dropped pretty aggressively and closed with pretty much no wick to the downside. So momentum closed very, very strongly bearish, and typically we could just open up bearish and kept falling Monday, Tuesday, and go smashing to these lows on the left, which is still my target for pound USD. I'm looking for us to revisit these lows. But of course, this week's candles open up bullish. So the question is this momentum, is this bullish momentum the real deal, or is just perhaps just the pullback for the first half of the week before we see momentum reverse and the bears start taking control? That's the question. Because if this momentum is just it is just temporary and just is a pullback, well, this actually opens up the door to some really nice quality locations for some shorts, not only for the rest of this week, but potentially going into the week after as well. So it could be a very, very nice swing opportunity. If not, if this is just a bullish move, which is going to maintain, is going to be accepted by the market, of course, we could potentially push a little bit higher. So that really is the question. Is this a pullback or is price shifting bullish? Well, at the moment, well, I did say on the weekly analysis, if you didn't catch that, this is the fib from the high to the low. So that's the 50% point. Now, typically, I don't really want to see price start to hold above the 50% point. It does lower the chances of this being a continuation. Because the idea is if we have a strong move in the market, typically the 50% is normally where you would say, okay, that move's being defended or it's not. If price does break above the 50%, it does lower the probability of the move seeing a continuation. Now, it doesn't mean we can't, it just lowers the probability. So I would like to see price break back below. And then, of course, shorts make a lot more sense. So at the moment, you can see we are pulling above that. You can see a bit clearer on the 4-hour chart. So my take right now for pound USD is, okay, we've seen this momentum. So far, it's still holding up. We're still looking tad bullish. An area of interest for me is roughly around here, 1.33834, where we had prior resistance from the previous week. Potentially, you might be looking to tag that area and then flip over. But the key thing is breaking back below the 50% mark. If price tags it, respects the 50, we could still see a very bullish week. And that's just not really what I'm interested in trading. You see how we closed for the previous week. The idea is that I'm looking for that momentum to continue. So I want to see us hold into this 50% mark to see that area is being defended, being respected. And then the chance of us rolling back over for the remainder of the week is pretty high. And that becomes a very nice opportunity, whether you're looking at some intraday pullbacks, just trading sessions as we fall, or you're looking for a swing trade. So pound USD is my favorite pair right now, and I'm still focused on pound USD. I'm just going to see how price maps out. Again, we've started off pretty bullish. It's a heavy news day, so I'm not being too judgmental with price action. Fully aware that price could just be slightly more volatile, slightly a bit more expansive before big news comes out today. So that's why I'm not reading too much. I think it'll be interesting to see what the news is, of course, but more importantly, how we close for today. Do we just, is this just going to be a bit of a wick? Can we close bearish, or does this momentum sustain? Two completely different scenarios. If the momentum does sustain, I wouldn't mind looking for some longs on the intraday time frames to take that higher. Short-term buys, though, I'm still pretty bearish longer term. But anyway, yeah, pound USD shorts, I'm keeping an eye. Euro USD, pretty much the same situation. I just like the price action on pound a little bit more. What's up, Dale Master? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. Of course, any markets you're looking at, feel free to drop in the chat and I'll be happy to take a look. But Euro USD is very similar to pound in terms of the price action, in terms of the way they move. So typically, if I'm looking for shorts in pound, normally there's probably a good short in euro, but it just depends on certain technical factors which pair I decide to trade. At the moment, Euro USD looks a bit cleaner. And the reason why, pound USD looks a little bit cleaner. And the reason why pound USD looks a little bit cleaner is just because of where Euro USD's closed. Euro USD's had a very bearish couple of weeks. Of course, it closed very bearish last week as well, but we've just gone and broken through support. So I don't really feel comfortable shorting euro after we've just broken through major support, because typically we're going to retrace. And that's kind of what's happened already this week. So I don't want to be looking at shorting a market that's already had a big displacement, especially in FX, where we mean revert and we fluctuate a lot. It's not a trending market. It's not a trending asset. So typically, if we had a big move, most of the time we're looking at some counter trend moves or just not looking to touch it. So that's why I'm not really looking to short euro, because we've already had a big drop and broken key support. If you look at pound USD on the weekly chart, yes, we've had a big move. And yes, we've broken some minor support, but we still have more critical areas slightly lower down that looks likely to be tested. So the trade idea is trading the continuation to that area, whereas euro is kind of already there. But anyway, Euro USD, same situation in terms of, again, if I whack out the 50%, so this is just mapping out our pullback territory. You can see prices at the 50% right now. So this is interesting for euro because if price is going to look at a continuation of that bearish leg from last week, this is the area which I'm expecting price to hold. So we're at a key inflection point, and we've got key economic data coming out today. So there's a lot of things happening right now, which will likely set direction for the remainder of the week. So being a little bit more careful today in particular, but after today's candle closes, that should help cement a bias for Thursday, Friday. If we can see a clear rejection here, let's say we have a nice wick to the upside and the market closes bearish, then Thursday, Friday, I'm looking for sells. Might not necessarily take us all the way back down here, but that's the direction I'm looking to trade. If, let's say, today continues and we close pretty bullish, then I'm not looking for sells next week. For the remainder of this week. We might see a bit of a pullback, but I would be very doubtful that we see a big continuation after that, especially if the economic data is leaning bullish for euro. We'll likely see a pullback and then a continuation. So today is kind of judgment day. And if you're trading at the moment, I would just keep it short term. There's too much uncertainty, and especially a lot of the bigger players are probably going to be waiting for news anyway before they make a move. Looking at GU2, nice, but waiting for, I think that's the sensible move, waiting for after the news. There's nothing wrong trading before the news. It's just that you can't be having a longer term outlook on the market. You can still find a quick intraday position before the news, but you're not looking for that intraday position to run beyond the news or into tomorrow because there's too much uncertainty. If you think about it, the bigger players with the bigger wallets, with the bigger positions who will have more say on the market, they're likely waiting for these economic data releases to come out before they change their positions or add to positions or whatever. So if they're waiting for bigger moves, then really you should be waiting too as well, because price action could change a lot between now and post news as well. So yeah, intraday fluctuation, you can try and make the most of that if that's your edge, if that's your style. But yeah, in terms of any swing opportunities or intra-week opportunities, or even just day trading as well, if you want to be a bit more cautious, waiting post news is a sensible decision. But yeah, the question this week is, again, is pound USD bullish for real this week, or is this just the pullback and we get the continuation? I think today's candle is going to answer that. That's really my main watch. What's up, Anya? Welcome to the stream. Yes, we can take a look at Aussie CHF for you, no problem. Not sure if you checked dollar. I have not looked at USD JPY yet. I can absolutely take a look. I'll go through Aussie CHF. Not really a pair I've been looking at too much recently, but we can absolutely have a look. So Aussie CHF looking very, very bullish. I say very bullish. It is pretty bullish, but it's not like it's exploding. It's a very corrected bullish trend, but bullish nonetheless. Let me just look at where we're positioned in the higher time frames. Okay, so we've been picking up momentum quite nicely. We're coming to some key decision areas. So I wouldn't be too bullish on this one because we're probably going to see a lot of noise in this area. Whether we're going to break out or reverse, that's a different question, but this area is going to be a little bit interesting. Anyway, we're pretty bullish, and looks like we've already tested the prior week's high there as well. So you've just seen a pure continuation on last week's momentum there. Dropping to the daily chart, the debate really is what price is going to do at this high, because this is a great point for two trading ideas. Either the failed breakout of the high and looking for the short, or the breakout of the high and just simply looking to continue the trend. At the moment, looks like we're just coming to test the high. So it's too early to say what is likely to happen, but we are seeing a lot of wicks here. So again, I would be looking at some short-term sell opportunities. If you're looking at a trade for today, that's what makes the most sense. We've seen some upside, prices respecting highs. I would say there's a good chance we do see a bit of downside. I wouldn't be betting on anything big. Even a push here is a bit aggressive for me. I would say if we can map this leg here, the last bullish move, that 50% mark would make for a good, healthy first target. You're not pushing the trade too far. It's a likely area for a correction anyway. Even if price is going to break out, we probably will pull back before the breakout happens. So you can still take advantage of that pullback. And then maybe we do have a bigger reversal. Who knows? But the idea is, okay, price is testing prior resistance. At the moment, still failing at that area pretty well. So likely going to see a bearish reaction to that. If we come back and break through, that's a different question. We'll monitor the breakout, see if it maintains or if it's a fake out, of course. And then we can develop a trade idea off that. But yeah, really for Aussie CHF, this barrier resistance is the main attention for this week, especially because momentum just picked up straight away. So yeah, if we can maintain 0.55950, which is that level there, shorts make sense. And yeah, I'll keep targets a bit more conservative because, of course, if we are shorting, we are going against the predominant trend here. You can see it better on the daily chart. So we are going against the predominant trend here. So it's not necessarily, okay, we're shorting at resistance because we're looking for this. That's a little bit too greedy, that. Not to say that can't happen, but there's nothing really telling us that the market's about have a drop that big. What we can see from the market is that we're failing at highs and struggling. So we could see a bit of a dip based on that. So that would be a smart idea. Then maybe we break tomorrow or the day after. So yeah, Aussie CHF short-term sells make sense. In terms of dollar yen, we can absolutely take a look. Yen pairs have been interesting, predominantly still very strong across the board. So the main idea of the yen pairs is still looking to short the yen pretty much against every other currency. USD is a good one to be shorting against. USD is quite strong at the moment as well. But yeah, in terms of the price action, we're testing prior resistance. Now there is a level above us, which I do think we have a good possibility of testing over the next few weeks, which is this high over here. So that's kind of where I still expect us to push towards. You can see last week's candle did close pretty strongly in a prior area where we've just seen wicks mostly and failure to close above this area. We've had a pretty strong candle. So it looks like buyers are gaining territory. Momentum is picking up. Yen still looks pretty strong. If USD keeps up, there's still room to the upside. So buyers make a lot of sense. If I whip out the fib market from the prior weekly low to the weekly high, you can see we've almost pulled back into the 50%. But essentially, it looks like a healthy pullback anyway. And if you look at the daily candles as well, you can see price just keeps stabbing into the prior day's low and keeps failing at it. So you can see we printed the low here, stabbed, failed to close there again. And today it looks like we've done the exact same thing as well. So it looks like we're just getting a staggered pullback. And again, depending on news, I wouldn't be surprised if we're just kind of compressing here before price maybe has another one of these bursts to the upside. Best way to trade that is looking for breakouts, really. Best way to trade those kind of compressed situations, compressed price action, then suddenly we see volatility pick up in a breakout. Best way to trade it is looking for breakouts. Yeah, I mean, you can try and anticipate in buying here, but the situation is, okay, news could break the opposite way and we could still be stuck in this range for a little while. Maybe price does want to come and test the 50. But in terms of bias, that is what I'm favoring. That is what I'm favoring. Respecting price structure as well. So yeah, I quite like the bias here. What you could be looking for is a counter trend line break and then buying on the breakout with some stops just below. Again, depends on your style and the way you like to trade. But if you can see momentum pick up like this and break above cleanly, there's a pretty good chance we're probably going to go attack the highs next. So dollar yen, I would be bullish. I would be looking for buys. Really corrective pullback here, just always failing at lows, which is a key sign to say that, okay, we're very, very exhausted. And as long as that higher time frame momentum picks up, which is likely, a break of this is likely to result in a pushback to highs. So that's kind of my intraday, intra-week take there for dollar yen. And yeah, predominantly I still want to be looking to buy the yen anyway, buy currencies against the yen. So yeah, pretty bullish on the yen. Again, not looking for anything crazy because we are trading at major resistance here. So a pushback to highs is a good bet anyway. There is room to the upside, but I would be careful because we could still struggle and have a deeper retracement. It's not necessarily guaranteed that we have to move right now. We could still pull back deeper before that move happens. But intraday, I think there's a smart buy there. So yeah, dollar yen pretty bullish, and yen still looking pretty weak. So that is still the main direction. Jay Huntley, what's up, my man? Hope you're well. Aussie dollar looking for long at 0.72. Okay, Aussie dollar is at an interesting area. I'm still pretty short-term bearish bias on Aussie dollar. I was selling it last week. Did exit on Friday. We're back at the same area as well. So I'm not really a fan of the buys just yet for Aussie dollar, unless either we have a much bigger pullback, maybe test some extremes here, or we get a breakout. You're looking for a long 0.72, which would take us back to the prior high roughly. 0.72 is just above it. Yeah, I would be very careful with that buy. Very, very careful with that buy for a number of reasons. But the main reason is this is key resistance. And you can see it represents it quite well in the weekly chart. For the past 5 weekly candles, 5-6 weekly candles, all you've seen is just pure wicks above this area. So buying above here is just a tad risky because for the past few weeks, we just haven't maintained price up there. We've tried to, but each week keeps failing. So taking a buy here is basically saying, okay, I think this week is going to give us the move that prior weeks have failed to do, which could be the case. It's just not necessarily high probability. So yeah, Aussie dollar will be very careful looking for buys because again, look at the conditions you're trading in, predominantly a range as well. I wouldn't be so confident betting on a push to the highs there. You know, we could easily just push back down again. There's no kind of momentum that is likely to going to push us higher. I know the overall bigger picture is bullish, which naturally, yes, you do want to be a buyer, but positioning is just as important as well. If I'm going to be a buyer here for Aussie dollar, I want to be trading nearer to these areas or this area, not necessarily there, unless I'm looking for a very short-term position on like a 15-minute or a 5-minute chart. A push to 0.72, I'm asking for a lot. So yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of buys here for Aussie. Not that we can't make that move, and not that the market isn't necessarily bullish on the bigger picture, because it is. It's just I would be very careful about placing buys in an area which is so heavily contested right now. Buyers are not really in charge, sellers are not really in charge on the lower time frames. We're seeing a lot of fluctuation. So yeah, 0.72. Personally, I would avoid that. Yeah, I would personally avoid that. If I was looking for 0.72, it's because I'm looking for more range play. You know, this is the range. Maybe we failed at lows, but we had a nice wick piercing through the low and we recovered. Yeah, that would be a nice buy. And then my target could be, okay, 50% of the range. And then the next target, the high of the range around 0.72 potentially, or maybe just a trend continuation. But yeah, buys there. Yeah, personally, not a big fan of. For me, this is seller's territory. Anything, there's there it is. Anything in this area, I would want to be a seller. Anything in this area, I want to be a buyer. So yeah, I would be I'll be pretty cautious of that. And even intraday, we're not really seeing much momentum, it's just fluctuation as well. So yeah, not a big fan of Aussie dollar buys, and especially with the news coming out today, that's just another another awkward situation, because your buyers could be necessarily technically in line, but maybe fundamentally, maybe I don't know, something is said in the press conference after the Fed that makes things shift as well. So that 0.72 bias could make a lot of sense post news today. If USD gets a very bearish outlook by the end of the day, then yeah, maybe a push to 0.72 makes sense, because you got that extra fundamental backing, that extra momentum that comes into the market, and then the buys make a bit more sense. But beforehand, it's tricky. And looking at Aussie dollar right now, not Aussie dollar, sorry, the DXY right now as well, I'm quite bullish on the DXY. We've had 3 significant attempts to try and be bearish here. We've had one, well, you can maybe count this one as well, 2, 3, 4. So you can see really aggressive attempts for momentum to expand lower, and we kind of fail. We leave behind the wick, and the market quickly rejects that move and retraces. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we're seeing momentum close pretty aggressively well to the upside. We've had a really aggressive attempt just over here, and then suddenly momentum expands and actually just about closes above resistance there too. So I do think for DXY, the next meaningful move will probably be a continuation of this bullish move here. So I am looking at maybe a pullback just because we're at resistance, and then maybe an expansion. We could even pull back as deep as this, potentially. But yeah, I do think we're likely to break resistance here. So I'm looking at pullback, upside, or maybe just a quick breakout and then pull back, more upside. Either which way, don't really want to be buying into that. So I would like price to pull away and then get the buy. This area looks interesting, or just break out and then retest buy. But anyway, I'm pretty bullish on USD, which is another reason, which is why I want to be selling pound USD as well. But maybe I'm a bit too early. So main focus will be keeping a close eye on pound to see how that does continue this week. Maybe it's a situation you're just going to have to wait for the news and we'll get a clearer estimation. But yeah, I'm looking at that 50% point right now, and it's being contested. So as you can see, if maybe this closes bearish today, I think that's really interesting. And then maybe some shorts Thursday, Friday. So yeah, that's kind of the take I have for pound USD. In terms of some of the metals, no problem, happy to help. In terms of some of the metals, I did say on the weekly analysis, if you didn't catch the weekly analysis last week, and I just said I'm not really a fan of the metals at the moment, so I think I'll leave them alone this week, and that is still very, very much true. Because again, it's a situation where we've had a massive expansion, massive bull cycle. It looks like that bull cycle is not necessarily over, but it's not in the same regime as we were previously. This was a very expansive, breakout heavy, pullback heavy, momentum heavy situation. This is clearly not the same. You can see momentum did pick up here for a bring back down just as hard pretty much. So this is a more kind of 50-50, sellers and buyers both having their luck here. So we're not going to be treating gold like this anymore. And we're probably going to be treating it more like this situation or situations back over here. Maybe the bull cycle does continue later on, but definitely not clear right now. So yeah, the play right now for gold is patience for me. Things still look pretty bearish here. We haven't really seen much trading this week, to be honest. It's just been price battling at lows. This has been a very key support level for gold. You can see basically Monday, Tuesday, just sitting on top of that level. Wednesday, we're contesting with it right now. Of course, we still got plenty of hours left before this daily candle does close. So Perhaps we see a breakout. Maybe it's another wick. And again, we got news to have it say as well. But if it is a break, then I am looking at push to support here, as we discussed on the weekend, back to around 4,900, 4,880, around this area here. So there could be some shorts on gold, especially a bit more intraday, maybe 4-hour hourly chart pullbacks, retest. It could be a smart move, but let's see how price reacts to today's news, because it's looking bearish now, but of course that could easily switch around and things look different. And then of course the better play would be looking at some buys actually. So yeah, gold is just kind of fluctuating, testing support, might break out, not really any clear edge until we decide what we're going to do at that level. Silver is even worse in my opinion. Silver is just pure range. So I really want to stay away from pretty much all price action here. You know, this to me is the range roughly with silver, equal highs here, equal lows mostly, and we're kind of just fluctuating in here. So I'm just being very cautious with silver. There's no predominant participant here. Buyers are not necessarily in control, sellers not necessarily in control. I mean, this could just be a big range that might lead to a really nice breakout in either direction at some point, but until then it's just 50-50. If anything, there might be some short-term mean reversion plays at the highs and lows that would interest me, but in terms of where we're currently trading, we're just in the middle. So I'm being very, very cautious to that. And of course, we've got big news events coming out. Been doing some research with the fundamental AI analysts on the Elevating Traders platform. Based on the PPI that's coming out later today, the consensus is 0.3, but of course we'll see what happens if it is actually 0.3 or if that does change. But if it does come out higher than expected, then we're expecting USD strength. A stronger PPI reading suggests that persistent inflation potentially reinforcing the Federal Reserve's commitment to maintaining or increasing interest rates in the near future. If it's lower than expected, of course, that'd be a bit more of a bearish sentiment to USD. But to be honest, the PPI is interesting, but the main thing is the Fed. The Fed's going to have a bigger say and it's going to have a bigger impact on the dollar. And of course, at the moment, the interest rates are expected to stay the same. But of course, the real kind of takeaway is press conference 30 minutes after, what the consensus is. And if they hint towards future rate hikes to manage inflation, that would be more of a bullish bias for USD. If the Fed maintains rates, but communicates a willingness to raise rates in future if inflation remains stubborn, it may strengthen the USD. Investors often react positively to indicators of continued monetary tightening. But of course, if it's the opposite, then of course we could expect USD weakness based on that. So it's not necessarily so much the importance of the rates that come out because they're expected to stay the same. It's more so what the reaction is on the press conference. And if it is a more bullish sentiment, then that ties in very nicely with the technicals, which we just discussed, and pound USD shorts becomes a very nice opportunity. Same with euro as well, but I think I'll focus on pound. What's up, Ambinoni? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're good. The thing is, since you probably joined, the usernames for everyone has changed a bit. So I don't recognize the username because it's changed. Unfortunately, I don't know, that happened like a couple of months ago, a few months ago. The usernames for everyone just changed, so I had to kind of relearn who's who again. So I do apologize, but I challenge that USD will reach long-term target of 159. Well, okay, yes, I do remember you. I do remember because I remember having that conversation about the long-term targets. Yes, I do remember. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we were smashed straight back into those prices. You had some long-term positions, didn't you? And I put gold bearish target 42.81 eventually. Okay, we got a new long-term position idea. So you're looking for gold to have another big pullback. So 42 would take us back to here roughly, which to be honest is not actually too crazy based on how exponential we have. Pullback to 4,200 is actually pretty reasonable, to be honest, because it's just been exponential. It's been crazy. So yeah, pullback to 4,200 is actually not that wild, but it's still a very big move. Absolutely, because we're trading at 4,900. So you're almost looking at a 20% drop in price there, just under 20%. So it's still a pretty big move in itself, but relative to the impulse we've had, relative to the bull run, it's a respectable pullback. Hey, what's up, Yusuf? Welcome to the chat. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're having a wonderful day and night. Yeah, we've got people in multiple time zones, so I have no idea. For me, it's just gone in the afternoon here. But I hope you're having a good day as well. Absolutely. But yeah, to be honest, that pullback to 4,200 makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that happen. I think metals in general are quite fatigued. I think long term, the bias for more upside still looks to be intact fundamentally. But of course, some retracement is probably due. You probably have a lot of people taking profit. Yeah, so naturally, I mean, you've probably already seen that happen, to be honest, with all this bearish reactions. But fundamentally, I still do think these guys will be heavily bought. I mean, I'm going to the monthly chart for silver. This was the prior all-time high back in 2011. Absolutely smashed that. So I think we could go through a bit of a stable period, maybe something like this, and then pick up again. Or of course, maybe, I don't know, something happens and we just pick up even quicker, which I think at this point is pretty reasonable actually. But yeah, it does look like we're in a retracement situation there. Thank you for acknowledging. Yeah, I remember that. I remember the discussion. Because yeah, it was such a big move, and typically, normally people who I discuss with on my streams were normally just talking about for the day or for the week, maybe for the month. But yeah, you were talking a lot longer than that, so that's why it stood out to me. But yeah, I mean, again, that's the thing about trading. You always have different objectives, different time horizons, different reasons for why you're trading as well. You know, some people have positions in the market to hedge other positions, so they're not necessarily trading that market. They're just there to protect another trade. Whereas some people are heavily scalping or heavily intraday trading. They're going to have different biases, different sentiment, different ways of trading, and all of that kind of comes into the market. And you just have to perfect that style, whatever it is. Whether you're intraday, you're looking for opportunities for that day or for that session, even not even for the day, for the session, or you're looking for some swing trades to place a position, forget about it, and come back and check in 2 months. You know, either way, whatever style you're looking to trade, the idea is just to get good at it and perfect it, of course. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, going into the future with how trading is changing and how trading is going to change with AI coming into it, it's going to be very, very interesting because of course the main advantage with AI is knowledge becomes accessible to pretty much everyone, and then speed and automation comes accessible to everyone as well, which was just mainly for big institutions, big research departments, bigger players with bigger wallets and bigger research teams. Now we have that. Not even just we even people who just literally started trading today, have access to that information as well, which typically you would have to go for research, learn from others for 6 months, a year, even longer, just to get to a solid level of understanding. Someone started today could do a really intense crash course and learn quite a lot within the span of a week. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how AI changes things. I think that the biggest thing to focus with AI coming into play is just making sure that whatever style, whatever niche, whatever trading assets you want to focus on, just getting very good at it and developing quality strategies to trade with. That's the main skill right now, because of course everyone has access to the same information, but not everyone can compile that into a high quality edge, a high quality strategy. So yeah, the real weapon is manufacturing that over the next few years. And whatever your style is, whether you want to look for intraday or swing, you know, there's edge everywhere. It's just you have to make sure you earn it, because you know simple edges are going to get exploited heavily. Been a while since I dropped by. Kind of had to stop trading and a lot of stuff for a while. No problem, man. Again, that's the thing with the markets. You know, you can take some time off. Maybe external situations happen, life happens. Yeah, the markets are not going anywhere. That's the beauty of it. I think that's important as well, because you have different times, different situations in life where you can afford to spend, you know, a lot of hours on trading, and maybe something happens where you have to take a break, or you have to stop for a while. Um, but you can always come back and always start up again. You know, it's easy accessible for everyone. But good to see you back though, Yusuf. Good to see you back, my man. Um, 0.66238 Aussie dollar long term sell target. Okay, we can have a look at that. You may think me crazy. S&P 500 long term pullback to 5,500. Okay, let's look at some of these targets. So you're looking for 0.662 for Aussie dollar. Okay, so Aussie dollar at the moment is trading 0.71. You're looking for 0.662, which would take us roughly about there. To be honest, I mean, it's a pretty big move, but if you look at the bigger time frames, which is it always puts things into context. It's not crazy. It's not too crazy to look for, because essentially we have a bit of a range here, and that your target kind of lines up with the midpoint of that. So if Aussie dollar respects highs here well, then that becomes a pretty reasonable destination. Maybe price expands high, or we pull back to the support level, or maybe we consolidate, who knows. But if we fail to expand higher and we maintain resistance, and because it looks like USD bullishness is likely here to stay for a while, so as long as USD sentiment stays the same, then it's actually a reasonable shout. We'll just see if the technicals comply. But if we do fail at this 0.71, 0.72 area, a pullback to the midpoint, I would say, is a pretty even bet. So yeah, not too crazy. I can see that happening actually, 0.662. And the S&P to 5,500. I mean, the indices have been in pullback mode for a bit right now. 5,500, that would take us to roughly here. That's a pretty big move. That's a pretty big move. Not unheard of, because you've just seen it over there, you've seen it over there, you've seen it over there. But of course, these are not slight pullbacks at all. These are big fundamental events. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I mean, that's COVID over there. This happened when we had the banking crisis in the US. This was when we had that flash crash in 2020, early 2025. So for us to see a pullback to 55 is going to take something pretty impactful, which could happen. I'm not going to lie, in today's age. But yeah, I mean, it's a relatively healthy pullback, and a great place to position some long-term buys as well. But of course, we're still a long way away. Momentum has to pick up too. But yeah, I won't call you crazy. I won't call you crazy. Have you gone over EU and G on the 15, I can absolutely take a look. I haven't looked at them on the 15 yet. So yeah, pound USD is my main pair of focus this week. Predominantly looking for shorts. Not quite there yet. Kind of want to see what happens with the news later today. And then I will decide how I'm looking to play out for the rest of the week. Going into the week, I am looking, I'll jump to the 15-minute in a second. But going into this week, I'm just looking for a pure continuation of last week's momentum. Last week took up prior week's high. We closed pretty much with no wick to the downside. Momentum is pretty strong. To me, there's a pretty good chance that we're coming back to test support eventually. Maybe not this week, maybe not next week, but as long as momentum does stay and we don't start pushing above this high here, I am looking for us to roll over. So I'm pretty bearish longer term Aussie. Predominantly, I want to be a seller. So yeah, I've marked out the 50% of last week's range, which is typically the area which I want to see defended. I don't want to see price breaking above and holding above this area. That's more of a bullish bias. So I do want to see us holding this area, which at the moment we're kind of deciding if we're going to do that or not. But yeah, dropping to a more intraday bias. So we dropped to the 15-minute. 50 minutes kind of been fluctuating, haven't we? So yeah, we haven't really done much. I mean, Asia was pretty interesting. We did go and take out yesterday's high and we came down pretty aggressively. This line here is the 50% mark. We can get rid of that for now. So yeah, if I was looking to trade pound USD for the 50-minute chart for today, to be honest, I wouldn't, just because of the news we've got coming out. If we didn't have PPI this afternoon, then I would say I quite like this side, this idea. If we can push down, maybe take out London, retest support from the prior day, I think that would be a smart place for a buy. Predominantly, the 50-minute chart is quite bullish. If we can buy it at a discount, that'll be beneficial back into key support. So that would be an area of interest. The reason why I wouldn't take that is just because, again, we've got PPI coming out at 1. Is it 1 o'clock or 1:15? 12:30. Oh yeah, because the times change in the US. At 12:30 UK time, so that's less than 2 hours time. So you probably don't get a trade and be done with the trade in that span of time. So because of that, I would be very cautious about the trade. I mean, technically, it makes sense. Just fundamentally, you could see volatility expand and take a unnecessary loss just because of the news event. So yeah, fundamentally I'll be careful, but I like the idea of push to lows here, retest support, and looking for push back to the upside, just continue the momentum. Shorts are a bit aggressive because you're going against basically all momentum of this week. I mean, there might be a push there, but it's more of an aggressive trade. The buys make more sense. In terms of Euro USD, again, high time frame, I'm pretty bearish in Euro as well. Move that out of the way. So yeah, Euro USD is basically done what I said. I think pound USD looks good to do, which is how to move down into yesterday's support and had a reaction off that. If you look at pound USD, it's basically the same price action, just hasn't quite done it yet, or push down far enough. So essentially, that's the support level there. Come back and test that. I think that's a smart trade. Catch up there with Euro. But yeah, let me get back to Euro. So Euro USD, bullish momentum, generally speaking, as well. We did fail at highs in the Asian session there. So you can see price did take out yesterday's high and then had a pretty expansive move back down off that. And now looks like we're pushing probably back to that same high there as well. So there might be some short-term plays there. But again, the emphasis is on the short term. This is not necessarily a bias in terms of trend or direction or momentum. It's more so we failed at highs previously. If we fail again, there's probably a bit of downside to take advantage. That's purely the idea there. I quite like the buys down here, to be honest, because you've got some equal lows there. You've got London session there as well. We could see price potentially run to the low here, maybe the news pushes us down, and then if you can recover it, that then becomes a nice buy because you're still in line with the predominant trend for the week. This potentially becomes the new higher low, just like we had over here, and then potentially you take advantage of the expansion back to highs. But we're going to need USD to be weak for that to happen. We'll see. Again, the main takeaway is just that the news coming up, so it's not a normal typical session. It's a session you have to be a bit careful. But yeah, if you're looking for any trades, you want to be predominantly at the highs or the lows because effectively this is a range. So you don't want to be looking to buy and sell within that. You're putting yourself at a disadvantage. You want to be either shorting the highs or, of course, buying breakouts, or buying the lows here, or, of course, selling breakouts. That's really where you want to be positioned. But yeah, I would say just see what happens with the news. I quite like the buy there, but we'll see if the news is compatible with that. Hey, what's up, shiny metal, shiny yellow metal? Welcome to the stream. I am doing good. Thank you for asking. Hope you're well. Forgot about the news. Yeah, news is definitely something not to forget about, my man. Especially intraday. You can probably afford to forget a bit about it in terms of news releases if you're a bit more swing, because your stop loss can probably digest that. But again, fundamentals are still quite important in terms of bias, in terms of what bigger players are doing, because at the end of the day, they have the most say in terms of what price actually does, and because they pay attention to it, you want to keep an eye out for it as well. But especially the lower time frame, just purely on just volatility. You don't necessarily need to be trading the news or necessarily be aligned with the news. You can just focus purely on price action if you want to. But just in terms of volatility, spreads can widen, market just expands, and that can knock your trade off unnecessarily. So always keep an eye out. Have you covered gold? I've gone through gold briefly. Where could the breakout sales lead to? Can we expect 48.80 after breaking recent range? Okay, I think I know what you're referring to. I spoke about that level of support. If we can break through, because we can see on the daily chart, price has just been dancing at that same level for the past couple of days, so Monday, Tuesday. So you can see this is the prior low, not from last week, the week before. I mean, essentially, we had that crazy expansion lower. We basically pull back into the 50% of that pullback, respected it pretty well. And you can see again a continuation of it. Now the question is, can we get a continuation past that point? So you've got the pullback, continuation back to that same point. Now the question is, do we break, or do we just keep respecting our support and maybe start ranging and maybe a push back to resistance again? That question hasn't necessarily been answered yet. I think with today's news and seeing how today's candle closes, that'll probably give us a clearer map of what Thursday and Friday could present. Let's say, for example, Wednesday closes pretty bearish. Well, Thursday, Friday, I'm looking at price to continue to drop back to this kind of area. So yeah, roughly 48.80 looks like a healthy support target. If today's candle pulls back up, maybe closes bullish and just provides wicks in this area, well, Thursday, Friday, I'm going to be looking for buys. And then I'll probably say targets, maybe 50% of this range here. So your first target would be this 50% area, and then the second target would be prior resistance from last week. So it really depends on what we do here. But yeah, correct. If we do break out 48.80, don't know where I got 20 from. 48.80 makes a lot of sense for a destination. That's the next valid support level. So that's where primarily I'll be looking. But if I drop lower, you can see things are very congested here. We've got a lot of wicks going along, a lot of closes below, closes back above. So the 4-hour chart and below are not really providing much clarity. The daily chart's providing a bit more clarity just because it summarizes price a little bit better at the moment. So yeah, because you've got big news today, Wednesday's candle is going to be quite decisive. And then hopefully Thursday, Friday becomes clearer, and that you can still find some really meaningful trades as well. Whether we get the breakout or price respects it, either direction, you can probably find some nice moves. Tough week to trade. Yeah, exactly. Is a tough week to trade. And again, I think that's where a lot of people do mess up as well with the news as well, is because they kind of treat it as a guessing game, when essentially it's a clarity game. It's a find out what people are going to do game situation, because every time you get a major fundamental event like Fed, CPI, NFP, etc., these are events where people with big pockets are going to decide where they're going to put their money or exit their money until the next big event. So when these events do happen, potentially they can start some really nice trends. And if you can understand what impact it has for a certain currency or a certain asset, then it just makes your trading a lot clearer fundamentally. And then, of course, you still have to find the technical setups to take the positions. But yeah, prior to that, you're going to get a lot of uncertainty, which is exactly what we're experiencing right now. A lot of mean reversion, a lot of unsustained moves, and just not the best trading conditions. So you're absolutely right. But so tomorrow, from tomorrow onwards, things do get interesting. What's up, C Stream? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good, my man. It's funny because I really don't want to sell gold. I always get burned when I do. Yeah, the thing is, there's a time and place. There's a time and place. Because, if you're selling gold in this situation, then obviously, yeah, you're going to absolutely eat dirt in this situation. Anyone would do. Selling in this condition is a big no-no. Selling in this condition is not necessarily optimal, because we are still making higher lows and higher highs, but you can still get away with some short-term moves because we're not really exponential. Sellers are having a bit more of a say. You can already see with the sustained bearish momentum there. You can see with respect to the 50% of this pullback. So the bears are having more say. Shorts, you can get away with it. But to be honest, it's kind of a situation where, like, for example, with like the S&P and NASDAQ, only very rarely would I take a short, because if you look at the chart since the beginning of time, it's just been going up. So for me, the way I see it, I don't really see much point in going short at all, unless there's like a clear bearish trend sustained over weeks. Then okay, yeah, I'll take a short. But even if there's a big bearish move, I'm just waiting for the next best opportunity to buy. And gold, I would do that as well. But gold, the thing with gold, it doesn't move like an indice. It will have these exponential runs, but then for maybe 2-3 years, it will go sideways like we had over here. And this is where shorts are great. Buys and shorts pretty equal. It's a range. And then here, you don't want to be shorting. And then here, maybe some shorts become a bit more sensible. But again, you still got to be super, super careful, because buyers are still in control. Buyers are still predominantly in control there. So yeah, I understand your pain, absolutely. Valentin, what's your strategy? Well, the strategy more so just looks at confluence, but I'm always asking the market is a move going to be respected, or is it going to be rejected? And I look for moves where, let's say we have a move in the market like this. So the market's ranging, and then we've had this move here. Now, there's either two things that's going to happen. It's either the market's going to continue that, or that's going to fail. I'm looking for scenarios where it fails, and I'm looking for the mean reversion of that. And this is essentially a range, and the market fails at the range. And you can look at the same pattern in a trend as well. You've got a trend, the market has a move down, it breaks lows. Is this move going to be accepted and we continue to trend lower? Or is it going to be rejected, and are we going to climb back above support and continue? That's essentially what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the market to see displacement and then fail, and then trade the the mean reversion or the continuation after that. That's really the moves I'm looking for. But you can see it in different conditions. You can see it in trend. You can see it in range. That's really what I'm looking for. And then I'm layering confidence on top of that. So location, price action, higher time frame situation, context, etc. But I'm essentially looking for a failed move and then trading the aftermath of it. Which time frame? Numerous time frames. I look for it intraday. Well, for the past 2-3 years, I mean, excuse me, past 2-3 years, I've been focusing on the hourly chart, but the past 6 months, I've been also trading on the 15-minute now. So I look for it intraday and kind of intra-week. So hourly chart, 15-minute chart as well, and predominantly on the USD majors. On the minor currency pairs, it doesn't work as well. They're less liquid, more noisy. It's tougher conditions to trade in, but the liquid markets, major markets, Euro USD, Pound USD, all the USD pairs, gold works pretty well. I'm also experimenting with BTC on the lower time frames at the moment. So far, it's looking good, but I need to test that more thoroughly because BTC is a whole different situation. But yeah, at the moment, 50-minute chart, hourly chart works pretty well. No problem, my man. Happy to help. Anyway, guys, we have come to the end of the stream. I actually will be live again later today on Trader Nick's channel. So go pay him a visit in about 3-4 hours. Post PPI, I'll be covering that on his channel with him. So if you do want to see more analysis or see what my opinion is or what's happening post PPI, go check out his channel. Just Trader Nick, search it up. If you guys haven't checked out Elevating Traders platform, link in the description. If you're looking to learn how to use AI in your trading, if you want to back test quicker, you want to use complex alerts, you want to build strategies, find new strategies to test, build indicators for your strategy, whatever type of indicator you're thinking of, visit elevatingtraders.com. You can go search it up and you have plenty of tools to use, and you have access to the Telegram group where you can speak to AI agents. I've been speaking to the fundamental expert or AI and just kind of picking its brain on different fundamental situations, particularly on today as well. I've asked what the expectation with the Fed interest rate is going to happen today, and necessarily what the scenarios will be, and what the dominant fundamental regime currently is at the moment, which is USD bullish right now. So it'll be interesting to see if we have a news release today, it negatively impacts USD, and then there could be a nice trade opportunity trading the reversal of that, because the bigger trend, the bigger regime right now is USD bullishness. So potentially, if we could see USD weaken a little bit and then correct itself back to the predominant regime, and that becomes a nice little trade opportunity. So I'm looking to see maybe you can find that on Pound USD this week. But yeah, check it out. Links in the description. But guys, appreciate you tuning in into today's stream. Looks like gold is trying to have a little bit of a breakout there. We'll find out. Let's not conclude anything yet. The candle's still open. But anyway, guys, appreciate you tuning in. Like I said, go visit Trade Nick's channel. I'll be there as well. If you do have any video recommendations you want to see on the channel, any type of content you want to see, you can drop it in the comment section. You can drop it in other videos. I'll see it. So yeah, let me know any video ideas you want to see on the channel. I'm happy to make them. But guys, really appreciate you tuning in. Have a great day. Have a great week. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.